All right, hello, everybody. It says we're live. Let me jump over here and do a quick audio check. Hey, looks like we have a few of you on already. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. All right, good. Got that. Hey, we got a comment already. Delta Outdoors already throwing something into the mix. So, all right, 7:30. Let's rock and roll. Hey, everybody, welcome to Wapiti Live Q&A for the herd members here within the Elk Calling Academy. This is for April 13th, 2022, and tonight we're going to talk about aggressive calling. I really haven't touched much on aggressive calling with you guys, other than kind of taking the bull's temperature. If he gets aggressive, you can get aggressive, and but tonight we're going to kind of dive deeper into that aggressive calling. So for you new members, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. If you are on a computer, you can actually click on this video there in the Patreon page. It will open up a screen in YouTube to where you can actually enter the chat. You can type and enter chats. You can make comments, put questions in, all that kind of stuff as we're rolling along live. Excuse me. If you are watching on your phone or a tablet, you can still make comments. You still can put questions in. Down underneath the video, you're going to see a little deal that kind of looks like a balloon. Click on that. It's going to take you into another page. You can make your comment or input your question, and then when you're done, it'll bring you back over into the video. So, all right, so let's dive into it. Like I said, we already do have one question in the mix for tonight. So aggressive calling. Those of you that have been with me for a while, you've kind of heard me talk about aggressive calling. Those of you that have gone through the instructional videos, you've heard me talk about that the aggressive approach is one approach that, a lot of people do, and that's all they do. And, aggressive calling can be successful. It takes a bull in the right mindset. Now you've heard me talk about, especially in the breeding sequence, kind of starting small and building that aggression up to where you can get aggressive calling. But aggressive calling is definitely not for every scenario that you have. There is a place to use it, and there's definitely places not to use it. So it can be a lot of fun because that aggressive calling approach can really get a bull fired up. And I mean, basically then you've got a bull that is pissed off to beat the banshee. He's like a freight train coming down the hill at you, and it is heart pounding, exciting, and sometimes it's really tough to get that bull to stop in your shooting lane because he is so amped up on aggression, and he really has a one-track mind. He's got one location in mind, and you really have to scream at him. I mean, there's been times in the past where I've just been like, yeah, and basically had to bark at the bull to get him to stop. Okay, aggressive calling. When to do it. Easiest time to recognize to do it is when the bull is getting aggressive. And you can tell when a bull is getting aggressive because their bugles ramp up really fast, they're shorter, and they fall off really quick. So as a bull gets more aggressive or agitated, his bugle will get shorter and shorter and louder. And he gets that higher pitch a lot more. Now, there's certain things with aggressive calling that I do. Now, remember in this, you really want to be on the offensive side of things when you get into the aggressive nature. You want to be the one that's controlling that scenario. And what I mean by that is you don't necessarily want to be responding to his aggressive. You want to be the aggressor that he's responding to. Because if he's controlling it, if he's on offense, he's going to stay where he's at and wait for you to come to him. Now, there are things that you can do. And you can recognize when a bull is in an aggressive nature because his responses to you, it's not you finish a bugle and there's a little bit of waiting period and then he responds. When his aggressive nature is risen, as soon as you get done, he's going to answer immediately. And a lot of times he's going to cut you off. And what happens with that is when he's cutting you off, he's basically on offense there. He's kind of controlling because he's walking over the top of you. This is where you are going to basically goat him into bugling so that then you can cut him off. And this is where you need to really be ready. I mean, your reed needs to be in your mouth. You need to have the tube. And as soon as you hear a note start coming out of him, you're cutting him off. You're bugling over the top of him. Now, you're going to know it's time to do this because, like I said, you're going to hear the intensity in his bugles rise. His response time is going to be 0. Meaning there's not going to be any delay when he's answering back to you. You have already introduced bull vocalizations into your setup, and he's responded in an aggressive manner. And a lot of times the first response that he'll give you is that lip ball, where, he's puttering the lips. And if he lip balls, it's okay to lip ball back to him. But the thing you don't want to do, if he issues you a challenge bugle, it's high pitched, it has a lot of airiness to it. Oh, hold on. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth stream. Okay. So something happened. Hold on, guys. Something happened and my video went stopped. Pause. Are you guys still seeing the video okay? Let me know. It's saying error. It went from excellent health. Man, that's weird. Okay, now we're back. Good. Okay. So if he does that lip ball at you, it's okay to lip ball back to him. But the thing that you don't want to do, if he issues you a challenge bugle, you don't want to issue the challenge back. So, okay, Delta, I've still got you here on YouTube. Okay, that's weird. Yeah, it just popped up and made it seem like wasn't sending things through. But so yeah, if he challenges, you don't want to challenge him back because he's on offense, and that's where you're going to kind of goat him into making a sound so that you can challenge and bugle over the top of him and be aggressive. And that's where I was saying you have your reed in your mouth, you have your tube, and every time he starts to make a sound, you're bugling right over the top of him. You're establishing dominance, basically, is what you are doing. And this is a really effective technique on the dominant bull in that area that you're hunting. Now, sometimes you might have to show a lot of patience to get to that point. In fact, one bull that we hunt, Angry Bull, first time that I worked that bull, that's exactly what I had to do. I got into the breeding sequence, and it was in the morning, and basically I had to wait for him to come down the ridge line. We were on another ridge line. There was maybe 80, 90 yards in between the two ridges. But I had to wait for him to come down the ridge, push his cows over on the backside of the ridge, and then come back to me. But once he pushed his cows and came back, he had a completely different mindset. He had a completely different approach. He was definitely aggressive at that point. I don't think he really liked that I was a bull with a hot cow in his area. And we had found this bull doing some night bugling, looking for places to go, and first time ever, hunting this face. And we've actually taken a couple of bulls off of that face, but yeah, so sometimes you have to start small and be really patient. I want to say I was 40 minutes into the breeding sequence of, him getting down onto our level and doing what he needed to do before he came back, and we got to the aggressive. But I'll tell you what, once we got to that aggressive point, it was 5 minutes and he was in. So yeah, sometimes you got to be really patient. Now, on the flip side, when not to be aggressive, if you have, if you have a bull that is giving you little whines like that, that is not somebody you want to get aggressive with. All you're going to do is just end up pushing him out, boogering him away. And I see it time and time and time again where people try to force that aggressive into the scenario. And it's not something we can force. It's that bull has to be ready. He has to be in that mindset. He has to be in that aggressive mode in order for you to go aggressive. So when not to do it is pretty much any time that you're calling a bull that you do not have aggressive responses back from him. Now, the tricky thing is you've heard me talk sometimes where a bull has gotten frustrated. And I've talked to a lot of people that, they've explained the scenario and they have mistaken a bull getting frustrated for a bull getting aggressive and mad. And that's kind of one of the things that you really got to decipher between. And one of the biggest times that I see this is when doing a cow only routine and the bull is doing a roundup bugle. So it's that bark, bugle, and then 2 or 3 chuckles. That's a roundup bugle. That's a bull asking you to come to him. And a lot of times, if you don't go to him, he's going to get more aggressive or more frustrated, I should say. Sorry, not aggressive. Frustrated, more demanding. He's going to be sharper on that bark. He's going to be higher pitched. And he's being more demanding at that point. He's not being agitated. He's not being more aggressive. He's being more demanding because he's been asking you to come to him and you haven't. That's a case scenario right there where I see a lot of people mistake that for his aggression levels rising. And they get aggressive on the bugle, and ultimately what happens is that bull ends up shutting up and going away. The other one is with the lip ball. You've introduced a bull sound. That bull hits you back with that. Basically, he's telling you, stay away. Now, depending on how close you are to this bull, he can get more demanding with that and add more affliction into that because you haven't been going away. Now, in this case scenario, he is becoming more demanding, telling you to stay away, but he's also, in that case, getting more agitated because you're not going away, you're not doing what he says, and basically, bottom line, his aggression level's rising. He's getting mad. He's getting pissed off. That's the case where then you can start getting aggressive with him. All right. Okay, first off, Del, would aggressive calling work, say, if like you have 5 bulls fighting in one group of elk in mid-October? We watched one bull dominate the ones that were fighting, then we would walk back to his cows while the other bulls would continue to fight. It can be. The fact that those bulls are in that group fighting with each other, they're kind of a tight-knit group. They know each other. You coming in from the outside, it's going to be a gamble. You're going to have a 50-50 response on this. You can come in being aggressive and seeing what happens with that herd bull, especially if you get in close enough that, break his comfort bubble under 150 yards and start getting aggressive with him and feeding off of what they're doing. It can get the effect where he's going to come over and he's going to run you off just like he did those other guys. You're going to have to set yourself apart from the others to really get his attention. And so that's where that aggressive approach can work. Now, the other half of that coin, if you're too far away and you do that, you're giving them the opportunity to, especially for him, to grab his cows and slip out the back door, the fight or flight. So if you're going to do that, make sure you're close up. So Daniel Gonzalez, why don't you answer a challenge with a challenge? So my theory on that, or my approach on that, Daniel, is the reason I don't answer the challenge is because since he initialized it, he's on offense. And when I respond, I'm on defense. Now, I'm still going to, in essence, answer the challenge. I just do it a little different way by starting some sort of bull sound. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just start chuckling, but really listening to him so that as soon as he starts bugling, I stop with the chuckle and then I issue my challenge over the top of him, because I want to be the one that is on offense. I want to be the one that's controlling the scenario, because if he's issuing and you're always responding, he's issuing, you're responding, he's issuing, you're responding, he's not going to come to you most of the time because he's on offense, he's the aggressor, and you're the responder. You want to flip that scenario around to where you're the aggressor and he's the responder. And that is one of those scenarios that you can basically get him to just abandon everything. And this is where he comes in with eyes bulging, nostrils flared, snot dripping. He's peeing all over himself. I mean, he is pissed off. And it's a lot of fun. Also, too, if you get it to where he's always issuing and you're always responding, that's where a lot of these scream fests that you hear about, man, I got into this scream fest with this bull. We just screamed back and forth and back and forth. And it's because he was in charge of the scenario, and you didn't do anything to change it. You didn't flip the script to where you were the aggressor, or you didn't move towards him a little bit to show that you're a challenge. So, because if you think of it this way, if you think of two guys in a bar that are going to get in a fight, and they're at a distance, and they're jawing back and forth, if one goes up only halfway and then stops, he really doesn't want to fight. Because honestly, if somebody wants to fight, they're going to go all the way. And that's in essence kind of what you're doing with this bull when he issues a challenge, and then you end up flipping the script to where you're the dominant one, where you're the one that's issuing all the challenges and you're the one that's controlling the scenario. That will get his point to where he does want to fight, and he's not going to stop. He's not gonna stop at that hang up point where he thinks he should be able to see that elk that's making noise. No, he's coming the full 100%. He's coming all the way. And that is the one where I was talking about earlier, where sometimes, it's really, really tough to stop them, by making sounds to stop them in your shooting lane. So hopefully, Daniel, that kind of answers your question a little bit there. So, now, there are some times when you're out locating and you get an aggressive response. It's not a nice, relaxed location bugle you're getting back. It's basically a bull that you've thrown out a location bugle, and he comes back with just knocking your hat off. And that's the case there where immediately, okay, I can get aggressive with this dude. I don't have to start small and build it up. I can jump right into the aggressive nature of it. So, all right. Questions, comments, concerns, thoughts. What you guys feeling? So, I'm thinking in 2 weeks, we're going to do another Zoom meeting. We're going to get everybody back on face-to-face. So, and nice thing is I was going to say weather's getting better here in Idaho, but our mountains have been getting hammered with snow again. I was actually going to head out this weekend and kind of get back to filming videos, but no, we've had I think the foothills just outside of Boise has gotten 18 inches in the last 48 hours, and we have another storm tomorrow and another one Saturday, and so snow's rolling in. So what other questions or scenarios do you guys have about aggressive calling? This kind of ties into what we were talking about on the last session with my philosophy of friend first, fight second. So okay, got it. Thanks, Michael. Daniel, you bet. So but yeah, it kind of ties into that philosophy of friend first, fight second. But sometimes there is no friend first based on the responses that you're getting. And you just happen to come across a bull that is in that mindset. He's already in that aggressive mindset. So, you'll run into that early in the season when they've established pecking order, or, kind of midway through the season when a bull... He, did a lot of work to gather up a few cows, and then a bigger bull came in and stole his cows from him. They can sometimes be pissed off and aggressive for a good day or two after that happens. So before they have other encounters and kind of get their butt kicked again and then turn timid. So, all right. So, questions, comments, thoughts. So, that's really all I had tonight. So, kind of a late night. I had to run down to Reno, Nevada yesterday and battled that nice snowstorm driving back. Here we go. Sandy Spencer, who actually made it 2 times in a row. Welcome, Sandy. How would you introduce yourself to 2 bulls that are already aggressive with each other? So, that's one of those things where if they're already being aggressive with each other, you already have the aggressive nature there. And, you're kind of that bystander that is feeding off their aggression and just basically come in and lip ball. So lip ball or chuckle. So, and see how they're going to respond. I've done it both in the past. I tend to lean more towards, the chuckle. Because I'm kind of wanting to see how they're going to respond to me. And usually most of the time they respond with that lip ball, basically telling me stay away because they're focused on each other. That's where you can slip up a little closer, hit them back with the lip ball, and then just start reading the aggression and seeing how they respond to that. And take control. Okay. So I tried to get some bulls going last year in a limited entry hunt unit. I got a few responses, but couldn't get them to commit. Do you think it could be due to distance? Yes. So if you're too far away, they'll respond. They'll give you location bugles. They'll be like, yeah, I'm here. Hey, whatever. But yeah, once you get a response, get in close. As close as possible without being seen. So, and the reason I say as close as possible without being seen is that's going to kind of vary from area to area depending on how thick the terrain is and how thick the vegetation is. If you're in thick timber, you could get within 100 yards. So, if it's a little more open, maybe 150 yards as close as you can get. So, but you definitely want to get as close as possible to put pressure on them. And basically what you're doing is you're eliminating the flight option in the fight or flight. If you're too far back, they can definitely take the flight option, or they don't consider you a real threat. So it's just like we've talked about in the past with a bull that has a hot cow. If you're 200 yards out or 250 yards out, he'll answer, but he's not in a real defensive mode. He's more focused on that cow and her being in heat. But as soon as you break his comfort bubble, which typically is, 150 yards or less, then he's going to turn into that defensive bull to where he's protecting his hot cow and he doesn't want you anywhere near her. And then his mind switch, his switch in his mind is just going to click, and he's going to get way more aggressive, and he's going to become really, really defensive. So, Mr. Charlie, how would you approach a bachelor group of bulls with one bull that's vocal in early season? So, bachelor group of bulls, Charlie, is I'm going to go more of the cow approach, the inviting cow approach with that, just because they already are a bachelor group. And if there's only one bull in there that's really vocal, then they're really not in that fighting, aggressive type nature. Pretty much the one that's pretty vocal is he's just kind of broadcasting, throwing it out there, saying, hey, here I am, come get me. And so basically that's where the inviting cow sound. Remember, those inviting cow sounds are sounds that's asking him to come to you. So the assembly mew. And you can add the demanding mew after that. So when you add those together, and then the other one that you want to throw out is a regathering mew, so the assembly mew is asking for a single come to me. The assembly, it's usually a one-to-one type communication, where the regathering is you're asking everything around you to come to you. And here's the regathering. And again, you can add that demanding mew after that, because that demanding mew is kind of like an exclamation point. So those are the type of inviting sounds that I'm talking about, because Charlie, you're basically asking those bulls to come to you. And early season, if they're still in that bachelor group, That one that's real vocal, he's advertising. He's looking for cows. So, all right. God, you guys are pumping in questions now. I like it. Daniel, how much noise do you make when aggressive calling? So, Daniel, I assume you mean like with my feet. Anytime I'm doing really any calling, I am snapping sticks. I'm moving around. I'm rustling brush. So they make noise when they're moving around. I do too. But it's also one of those things that you got to be careful because they have to be natural sounds. But I mean, I'll stomp my feet on the ground. I'll walk over on a bush and I'll pull on the limb to make it sound like I'm pulling leaves off that bush. So I make quite a bit of noise. So I'm not worried about being quiet. So, Dale, okay, not anything to do with aggressive calling. Right. So have you ever seen a bull bring cows into an area, then use his antlers to push cows back into the trees and come out on his own? Yes. So he will use his antlers to hook cows and basically guide them where he wants. So, and that's kind of what you just described there is exactly with Angry Bull, what he did with his cows. He brought them down that ridge and then he hooked them and dropped his head and used his antlers to push them into a safe little pocket. He didn't want to give them the opportunity for his cows to turn and come to me. So he wanted to put them in a safe space before he came back over to me. And he's not the first bull that have done this in calling scenario. We were, God, where were we? Oh, it's probably 10, 11 years ago. I was calling for my buddy Lance, and the 7x7 that Lance shot on video, it's on one of the Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls videos. This bull did the same thing. He tucked his cows in a safe place before coming over. So that actually is a pretty common thing for herd bulls to do is tuck their cows in a safe pocket before they come out. So Charlie, awesome stuff. Thanks. You bet. So, all right. More questions. Where did the other one? Okay, we answered that one. And let's see. Walk away from the cows. What would that indicate? It was mid-October, late season elk hunt in Utah. He's not going too far from the cows. Now, mid-October, late season, most of the breeding is done. There might be some stragglers that come back into a second rut that didn't get bred the first time. So mid-October, it's not uncommon for bulls to, go farther away. And honestly, that time, mid-October, that's kind of the more dominant bulls at that point. They've bred all their cows. They've kind of tucked into deep, secluded pockets to lick their wounds basically and recover and start getting ready for winter. Mid-October to late October, a lot of the bulls that you're seeing still with the cows, there's still good bulls in that group, but it's usually a little younger age class bulls. It's not those bulls that live solitude 11 months out of the year. Those guys basically just come down for September, and then as soon as that peak rut's done, they go back into solitude. So Dale, okay, thank you. That makes a lot more sense now. You bet. So good questions tonight, guys. I like it. This is another reason why I was kind of thinking about doing the Zoom meeting in 2 weeks, because that was a lot of fun, a lot of good interaction. So, all right. Next up on The Price is Right, we have. I don't know. Sorry, waiting for the phone to load. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was talking. Thanks again. Okay, Daniel, cool. So, yeah, on the noise aspect, guys, don't worry about being quiet. There is a time to be quiet, and really, it's when you're, you have a bull located, and you're kind of slipping into your setup location. That's when you want to be quiet. But once you're in your setup location, go ahead and make noise, especially if you're in a 2-on-1 scenario where you have a shooter out front and a caller behind. The shooter obviously is going to be quiet. He doesn't want to be making any noise. But the person back behind doing the calling, you can make noise. You can move around. You can step on sticks. You can do all that kind of stuff. My mind, it adds a realism into your calling scenario, into your calling setup. So absolutely make that noise. So, all right. And actually, when I'm moving through and locating, I don't really worry about being too awfully quiet. So I used to, but I ended up feeling like I was sneaking through the forest for absolutely no reason. So, all right, last check for questions. Nope, looks like we got them all in, got them all answered. So we are going to wrap it up. Now, before Sandy or Larry or anybody says it, call for the night. I actually covered quite a few calls tonight. So demonstrated a lip ball, demonstrated roundup bugle, challenge bugle. We went through assembly mew and regathering mew. So there was more than one sound for tonight. So, all right, guys. Hey, as always, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for tuning in tonight. As always, keep calling, keep practicing. More importantly, though, have fun. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks on a Zoom call for the next Wapiti Live Q&A. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.